Not with the Queensland Police Union President Ian Levers coming under fire after claiming the state's path to treaty would change the youth justice system to favour First Nations people. In a News Corp opinion piece, Mr Levers claimed the Queensland pathway to treaty process will segregate society. Transport Minister Mark Bailey quick to condemn Mr Levers' comments in a series of tweets, labelling them ignorant and factually wrong diatribe. It all prompted heated debate in State Parliament yesterday, where the Premier hit out at Levers' comments.
I disagree with the comments that the Queensland Police Union President has said. I think they are very unhelpful comments and they are divisive comments. I think in this state, what we want to do is we want to unite Queenslanders, and we want to make sure that we do go down the path of reconciliation, Mr Speaker. And everybody on this side of the House firmly believes in reconciliation. These comments are made by the President of the QPU, I believe, to be divisive, Mr Speaker. The Minister...
Member for Currumbin, you won't understand you should be continually interjecting.
...is very passionate, and anyone in this House is entitled... The Minister is not anti-police. Do not put words in his mouth. Do not put words in his mouth. And the Minister does not agree with the comments that the President of the Police Union made, and I do not agree with the comments that the Police Union President made.
Member for Everton, you're now warned, understanding this.
Every single person in this House should believe in reconciliation.
That's the Premier, Anastasia Palaszczuk, in State Parliament yesterday. Ian Levers did respond to his critics at a press conference yesterday afternoon.
Oh, look, there's been cabinet ministers have a go at me, but that's part of life. That's water off a duck's back to me. I'm used to that. But what I'm saying is what needs to be done, and I want action. People know I'm not into inquiries. I want action, and I want deliverable outcomes to take place. I'm tired of recommendations and people... lawyers making money. Meanwhile, the people on the ground are not getting the assistance. And people have attacked me. They're entitled to do that. And I find very disappointing in our society, if you have a differing view, you are personally attacked in an absolute disgraceful way. That is very un-Australian. Look, 70% of Queenslanders had their say. They made their point of view. Let's move on and let's make changes without another inquiry so we can improve the lives of First Nations peoples within communities. And that's where it comes from. I see the child abuse. I see the domestic violence. And I don't know what people here have seen today, but when I've seen it firsthand, I've worked in child abuse. I've seen what takes place. It is gut-wrenching when I see what happens to these young people. I find it particularly sad when I see young kids who are babies, 1, 2, 3, 4 years of age, their lives are destroyed or is it over before it's even begun. That is a disgrace, and I think that's where we need other organisations and the money to go to effect changes on the front line. So I actually want to see improvements. I don't want to line the pockets of lawyers and make people come out with feel-good statements and recommendations which are unworkable and are never going to be enacted upon. That is the real crime.
That's Ian Levers addressing some of his critics yesterday. Dr Terry Goldsworthy, Associate Professor in Criminology at Bond University, is a former detective. Dr Goldsworthy, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Does Ian Levers' views reflect a section of the police force?
Look, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't think many police would have expected to wake up yesterday and read that in a Courier Mail. That's my take on it. The problem you've got is that the union president has slowly expanded, or seems to have expanded the role from representing staff on industrial and legal matters to now there's a claim that the union represents their members on social and political issues. And I think that's terribly incorrect. I mean, the social and political views of the membership of the QPS, or the QPUE, I should say, would be very diverse. I mean, so there's no way they are a homogenous group in terms of those viewpoints. And the purpose of the union is not there to represent social and political issues. The purpose of the union is there for industrial and operational matters and to act as a strong industrial advocate for its members. So I think yesterday's commentary it almost struck me like a thought bubble that somehow got published in a paper, steps outside that ambit. I mean, I was just stunned with some of the issues that were raised in there have no purvey in terms of the criminal justice system.
Why? Why did he make these comments? Surely there's speculation. Will he stand for a political party? Is this the start of Ian Lever's new direction? I mean, they're the sorts of commentary that's going on at the moment. What's going through your head as to why he would do this and put himself out there the way he did?
Well, I mean, they're all reasonable conjecture, I guess. I mean, is he platforming for a political career? I mean, you wouldn't know. He's been a president now for some period of time. I would suggest perhaps maybe too long and it's time to move on. But yes, I mean, talking about the voice, which is irrelevant to policing in reality. I mean, it was a separate issue that just shouldn't be addressed. The renaming of places, again, is a separate issue to policing. They might be social issues and political issues. They're not policing issues. There was no linkage there at all in terms of justifying him making those comments. And it is interesting because he is still a sworn officer, so he is subject to the restrictions on public commentary that police officers are, with the exception when he is doing industrial advocacy. I would argue that he's starting to step outside of that industrial advocacy, and he'd be warranted to be very careful in his commentary that he's making, because I don't think the industrial protections would stand up if he was challenged on it.
Would you join the calls for his resignation?
Well, if I was still a member of the union, I was a member for about 27 years, I would be contacting him and saying, you're not there to represent my political issues or social issues, just focus on the job and stop dragging the union into fights that it doesn't need to get involved in. I mean, when you take an oath of service as a constable, part of the oath says, without favour, affection, malice or ill will, you will serve in the capacity of constable. Now, there'd be any number of people in this community who would have read that yesterday and gone, well, this guy doesn't represent me at all. When you start labelling people as cafe latte sippers, inner city dwellers, and you're really singling out entire sections of the community as being people that you don't value. If you want to make an argument about a particular issue that impacts on the criminal justice system, then make it with intellect, engage in the contest of ideas and display your intellectual capacity by making it from an evidence base about a particular issue. These wide-ranging labelisms that he engaged in yesterday, I think, are ill-thought and don't help. And then, he doesn't seem to have learnt the lessons of history. Politics and policing don't mix in Queensland. We saw that in Fitzgerald Inquiry, and we saw it even more recently in the Munding Borough election in 1996, where the police union actively got involved in politics and was then subject to a CCC investigation. Police have no role in politics, and he should not be politicising the union.
I repeat my question. I know you're not a union member, but would you like to see him resign? Is it time?
Oh, look, I'll leave that to the membership. If I was a member, yeah, I would. If I was still a member, I'd expect that it might be time for him to move on. But, the union's primary role, as I said, is to engage in getting good terms and conditions for the police. And he's been highly successful in doing that. I mean, industrially, he's been very successful in terms of the EBA agreements that outcomes he's got for the police. So in that respect, I think it'd be very difficult for anyone to remove him or beat him for that position at the moment. But in terms of his commentary yesterday, I think he needs to go back and reassess what his role is, and just remember that, policing is a crucial part of our democracy. And there's a number of reasons why police don't get involved in public commentary about politics and things like that, because you need to ensure that you are separate from the political class. You need to maintain your neutrality so that the entire society feels that you are there to represent and protect them, not just the sections that you like.
Do you think that he has eroded trust between police and the public through his comments?
Oh, I'm sure there'd be certain sections of the community who would have read that yesterday and would have gone, well, the police, if he's representing the police, then they don't represent me. And I think that's problematic, very problematic for the police who are out there on the road. And he's not out on the road. I mean, he sits in the office of the union and has been there for many years. The police out there doing the policing at the coalface would probably be going, well, that doesn't really help us too much when we're dealing with certain sections of society. So perhaps that rhetoric would be best kept to union meetings at the union headquarters.
All right. Look, thank you. I appreciate your thoughts on this one this morning. Dr. Terry Goldsworthy, Associate